Lightning bullet.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
More powerful than a locomotive.
Hulk! Smash!
Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound.
There's more to them than meets the eye.
It's Superman!
Hey there, boils and ghouls. Welcome to Chuckles Crypt, and you are not hearing things. We started stuff off of a little showdown there. Meet me at the streets at noon type deal. That's right. That was the theme music from Tombstone. So if you catch what today's theme is, George Garner, by the way, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. And I wasn't bright enough to catch it. You informed me under the music.
Could you catch what we were doing? There's Misery.
I did the lineup.
Of course you did. You did the lineup. That's right. So break out your dusters, your 10-gallon hats, your 6-shooters, because we are traveling back to the time when many of men and women, even today, dream of times long ago where a man's 6-shot in lead was the word of the day. And if you tried breaking those words, well, the old saying was you got a mouthful of lead. And yes, Westerns are a huge part of comics. Maybe not so much anymore. But when the comic books started off, Westerns were bigger than Batman and Superman. Because Batman and Superman and all those other guys were thought to be a flash in a pan where people have already written about such people as Wild Bill Hitchcock. So why not start comics on 6-shooters and put a little spin on them?
Well, they had written about them, and I think the Western movies were well underway, right? When
Spaghetti Westerns, you name it, 1950s, 60s, it was a big franchise. One of the things we're going to get to later on, something that isn't well known, is the mixing of the Western movies, which they're doing a little more of it now. I think trying to grab on to that last bit of excitement, because Westerns, they're dying out. They are. And the Western comic books, the characters, they're dying out. Why? Because people really don't care about history. And you hate to say that, but that's the truth. You ask anybody later on who these folks are on the street, and when I mention their names, they won't know who they are. So when you think Westerns, you think comic books. One of the biggest ones to date that does release comics that are Western is DC. Marvel, however, used to be the top of the branch. Not so anymore. They used to release great books, and these are very, if you have found them, hold on to them, because these comic books are worth money. A lot of money. Stuff like Gunsmoke, and the Western. These are all Golden Age books. Kid Cult Outlaw, Two Gun Kid, Wild Western. I mean, and the names keep going on and on.
Was Rawhide Kid Marvel?
Rawhide was Kid Marvel. I mean, there's a lot of Western books, and those are worth cash. I mean, just as much as the Superman and the Spider-Man #1s. If you find those, hold on to them. They didn't stay popular. Let's just put it that way. They didn't have enough to hold on for people to grab onto it. And there really isn't any really great Western heroes that has grabbed the youth of today. Not even my favorite, Jonah Hex, which that's a pretty badass character. The dude can talk to the dead.
Yeah, every now and then they try to revive him because he does have his hardcore fans.
And that movie, I'll get to that later on, I actually enjoyed it, although it got a very bad review by the gentlemen that do the reviewing. Speaking about movie reviewing, it wouldn't be a Chuckles and Laugh Show unless we reviewed movies in the theater. And, of course, George, you asked me to mention about the Fantastic Four, and I know this is going to be a sensitive subject for some people out there. It wasn't that bad of a movie. I will put on record as saying it was entertaining, very entertaining, and it was better than the first two.
All right, that sounds like damning with faint praise, as they say, though.
It was good. However, it was not a superhero movie. And you look at me baffled.
Slightly baffled.
It was more of a science fiction movie than it was a superhero. It had all the elements of being a science fiction movie, from travel and interdimensional to all these alien energies and everything. And I'm going to say this, thank God they did not ruin Doctor Doom. That's always good. There was mentions of him, one being a female, which I'm okay with. Equal opportunity, but just please don't destroy certain characters. And then the second rumor was he was going to be an internet terrorist, which I'm like, please do not do that to this character.
That would be awful.
All I got to say is thank you to the producer for not doing that and actually making Thing seem believable, unlike the Thing before. He's actually a monster in this one. All in all, Nurse Misery and I, we liked it. I mean, it wasn't bad. The reviews of... I don't understand what is with the critics. If it's a good movie, they crap all over it. And
the critics have always been like that. Critics are kind of, I think what they are is frustrated movie makers. You know, frustrated intellectuals, you know, who think they know better than the rest of us, but they really don't, and which is why they're writing reviews for movies instead of making them. And sometimes they just don't get it. Like you made a good point 2 seconds ago when you drew a difference between science fiction movies and that category of superhero movies. There is a difference. See, they don't get things like that. Kind of like I was complaining a few months back, the difference between a monster movie and a Godzilla movie. You know, same thing here. Like that's the difference you're making. And critics do not get that. Like they just don't. Unless it's some stupid-ass boring movie about two people sitting down having dinner and arguing. You know what I'm saying? They don't get it. For the most part. There's exceptions, but they usually don't.
Yeah, I recommend for folks out there, see it before it's out of the theater if it isn't already, because not only did the critics tear it apart, but a lot of the diehard comic nerds tore it apart because it was a totally different story from what they were used to, which I could see what they did. It was a new franchise, and folks, this happens in the world when stuff is stale. They have to try to revitalize it so that the younger folks will grab onto it. If you ask any of the kids that watched that, they're not going to say that movie sucked. They're going to say that was awesome. But if you ask a 28-year-old man that lives in his mother's basement that has every episode of Fantastic Four from beginning to the end, he's going to say that movie sucked big time.
Because it gets back to what we were talking about a couple of episodes ago about the difference between movies and comic book, right?
Right.
I mean, is that the only problem?
And I see that's what people are tearing it apart. And the biggest thing, and I tiptoe lightly on this subject because I don't want to be having
you want me to
the
handle
good
it,
reverend knocking on my door.
You want me to handle it? You don't have to. You don't even have to say a word. Okay, go ahead.
I can do this.
Take
a lot
shot.
of people were angry that Johnny was African American.
Was it Johnny Storm that was African American?
Right. And you really don't give a crap. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, get over it.
Okay, but Johnny is Sue's brother, isn't he?
And they work that into the storyline very gracefully.
Okay, so all right, so it is the explanation.
It is all tied in very neatly and very well done.
All right, then there's no big deal.
Right, and it's a new story, so it's not like they're saying the Johnnies of past didn't exist. This is totally new, which is okay to reintroduce characters. They do it in the comic worlds constantly. Marvel has just replaced, did a story where Thor is a girl, and Spider-Man was African American. They do it all the time, folks. Get over it. People try new things.
Was there a big, not to interrupt, but was there a big fuss when Nick Fury was black in the Avengers?
No.
Because that made no difference either.
No one made a big fuss about that, but the minute Johnny was African American, everybody flipped out. And Michael Jordan's kid, look out, folks, because
he's an up-and-coming superstar.
Outstanding actor, and I see movies coming up down the road that he's inside of. He's going to be a big player, trust me. And this might have been his worst movie that he did in people's eyes. I enjoyed it.
But it's also an Origins movie, and people forget that sometimes Origin movies take a little bit to get into it.
I'm sick and tired of Origin movies. It was an Origin. They did an Origin.
It was definitely an Origin.
Yeah, and it was different though because it was a younger Origin. It wasn't like they started right away in their 30s and 40s.
No, it was how everybody got their powers and how everything happened and the banter.
It's a new idea. Let's not get too far off subject because we are talking about the Westerns, but I just wanted to add my part in about that. We come back, we'll talk shortly on, a definite screw job that WWE gave us over the weekend for SummerSlam, and if you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. And this man, he definitely looks like a desperado when he comes down to the ring, Mr. Undertaker. Let's go down to Alice Cooper's Desperado here on Chuckles Crib, Rhode Island FreeRadio.org.
I'm a gambler and I'm a runner, but you knew that when you laid down. I'm a picture of ugly stories. I'm a killer and I'm a clown. Step into the street by sundown. Step into your last goodbye. You're a target just by living. $20 will make you die. I wear lace and I wear black leather. My hands are lightning up on my gun. My shots are clean. My shots are final. My shots are deadly, and when it's done,